I went on pothole patrol on Sarjapur Road to find out how many potholes there are between St. John's Hospital and the Tamil Nadu border. Now, this was a 24.6-kilometer ride, so a pretty long ride, but I started it at around 6 a.m. to avoid as much traffic as possible on a Sunday. You can see here I give myself points for every single pothole that I drive through. And this was my way of just sort of gamifying the process and kind of seeing how many potholes there were, quantifying it almost like a high score in a retro video game. There were potholes like this though, with water in them. I couldn't actually see the bottom of this one, so I went in very slowly because I was a little bit nervous about it being a bottomless pit. And you might be thinking to yourself, Caleb, this is really dangerous. You shouldn't be doing this. You're taking a huge risk. But the reality is that there are people who drive through these potholes unintentionally. They don't see them oftentimes because they're stuck in traffic. They're driving behind someone, a car or a truck, for example. And so they just can't see the pothole until it's too late and they drive right through it. And so that's why I left early in the morning. I wanted to give myself as much visibility as possible so that I could see the potholes coming. I could approach them very cautiously. And mainly this video is just intended to highlight the sheer number of potholes. You'll be surprised by how many potholes I go through by the end of this video. And so I figured if other people are driving through these by accident, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drive through them on purpose. Now, the road that I'm driving on right here is actually Sarjapur Marathahalli Road, and later on it'll turn into Sarjapur Road proper. But you'll notice in this video that I'm collecting points from a pretty wide variety of different kinds of potholes. And so we've already seen water potholes, right? Potholes that basically become a little bathtub in a sense, right? Full of puddle water to the point where you actually can't see the bottom. Those are actually quite dangerous, but potholes have a life cycle. They start off small. I just call these divots. They're basically little chunks that have been taken out of the road. They're not really that dangerous in and of themselves, but if you give them enough time, they start to grow and they start to get deeper. And that's when they become proper potholes, right? And those become a little bit more risky for people who are driving on the roads. And then if you completely ignore them, then they grow to the size of life-threatening potholes, where especially if you're on a two-wheeler and you go over one of these massive potholes, there is a pretty high chance that you are going to fall over. And if there's a vehicle driving behind you, then it's possible that they are not going to be able to stop in time and they might actually hit you. And you'd be surprised by how frequently this exact thing happens, where someone will go over a pothole, lose control because they're driving a two-wheeler and they're basically constantly balancing, and then a vehicle will come behind and there will be an accident.